Mangjaka is the Japanese word for a comic artist or cartoonist. Outside Japan, manga usually refers to a Japanese comic book and mangjaka refers to the author of the manga, who is usually Japanese. As of 2006, about 3,000 professional mangjaka were working in Japan. Most mangjaka study at an art college, manga school, or take on an apprenticeship with another artist before entering the industry as a primary creator. More rarely a mangjaka breaks into the industry directly, without previously being an assistant. For example, Noko Takeuchi, author of Sailor Moon, won a contest sponsored by Kodansha, and manga pioneer Osamu Tezuka was first published while studying an unrelated degree, without ever working as an assistant. A mangjaka will rise to prominence through recognition of their ability when they spark the interest of institutions, individuals or a demographic of manga consumers. For example, there are contests which prospective mangjaka may enter, sponsored by manga editors and publishers. They are also recognized for the number of manga they run at one time. Etymology: the word can be broken down into two parts, manga and ka. The manga corresponds to the medium of art the artist uses, comics, or Japanese comics, depending on how the term is used inside or outside of Japan. The ka suffix implies a degree of expertise and traditional authorship. For example, this term would not be applied to a writer creating a story which is then handed over to a manga artist for drawing. The Japanese term for such a writer of comics is gensakusha. In a 2010 message from, at the time, Japan Cartoonists Association chairman, Takashi Yanis, it says, While Japan is often said to be world unregistered trademark cartoon kingdom, not a few people will surely be wondering what exactly the Japanese mean by the term cartoon. Unfortunately, there is no hard and fast definition that I can offer, since the members of this association lay claim to an extensive variety of works. Relationship to other staff: while Japan does have a thriving independent comic market for amateur and semi-professional artists, creating manga professionally is rarely a solo effort. Mangjaka must work with an assortment of others to get their work completed, published, and into the hands of readers. Editor: most professionally published mangjaka work with an editor, who is considered the boss of the mangjaka and supervises series production. The editor gives advice on the layout and art of the manga, vets the story direction and pace, ensures that deadlines are met, and generally makes sure that the manga stays up to company standards. An example of this is Akira Toriyama and his former editor Kazuhiko Torishima. The editor may also function as a brand manager and publicist for a series. When a manga is the basis for a media franchise, the editor may also supervise the designs for licensed merchandise, anime adaptations, and similar products, though this duty may also fall to the mangjaka or an agent. Writer: a mangjaka may both write and illustrate a series of their own creation, or may work in collaboration with an author. The mangjaka typically has a strong influence on dialogue even when paired with a writer, as any conversation must fit within the physical constraints imposed by the art. Takeshi Obata of Death Note, Tetsuo Hara of Fist of the North Star, Raiwachi Ikigami of Sanctuary, Akai Shiryu and Haim Kamishida of Sakura-za no Pet Nakanojo are all successful manga artists who have worked with writers through the majority of their careers. Assistants: most mangjaka have assistants who help them complete their work in a clean and timely manner. The duties of assistants vary widely, as the term incorporates all people working for a mangjaka's art studio, but is most commonly used to refer to secondary artists. The number of assistant artists also varies widely between mangjaka, but is typically at least 3. Other mangjaka instead form collaborative groups known as circles, but do not use additional assistants, such as the creative team clamp. A few mangjaka have no assistants at all, and prefer to do everything themselves, but this is considered exceptional. Assistants are commonly used for inking, lettering, and shading, though the predominance of black and white art in manga means that unlike in the Western comic industry, a studio rarely employs a colorist. Some mangjaka only do the sketch work for their art, and have their numerous assistants fill in all of the details, but it is more common for assistants to deal with background and cameo art, leaving the mangjaka to focus on drawing and inking the characters. Assistants may also be employed to perform specialized artistic tasks. Go Nagai, for instance, at one time employed a specialist to draw helicopters and other military vehicles. Kanura Mori employed a historical consultant for EMA, and series that incorporate photorealistic architecture, animals, computer-rendered imagery, or other technically demanding effects may employ or contract separate artists trained in those techniques. Assistants almost never help the mangjaka with the plot of their manga, beyond being a sounding board for ideas. A manjaka's assistants will be listed in the credits for a manga tankobon, and short interviews with or illustrations by assistant artists are a common form of bonus material in these collections, but they do not receive individual credits in magazine publication. Most manjakas started out as assistants, such as Miwa Ueda to Noko Takeuchi, Leiji Matsumoto to Osamu Tezuka, and Kanura Shintani to Leiji Matsumoto. It is also possible for an assistant to have an entire career as such without becoming an independent manjaka. Assistants, particularly specialists, may work with several different manjaka at the same time, and many assistants also self-publish works of their own in the doujinshi scene. See also, Bakuman, a late 2000s manga series offering a dramatized look at the inside of the industry. List of Japanese artists, list of manga artists. References: McCarthy, Helen. Manga, A Brief History. 500 Manga Heroes and Villains. Hall Page, New York, USA, Chrysalis Book Group. Pages 14. ISBN 978-0-7641-3201-8. A. B. Schult, Frederick L. Manga. Manga. The World of Japanese Comics, Kodansha International, August 18, 1997, ISBN 0-87011-752-1, message from the chairman. Archived from the original on December 26, 2010. Retrieved January 17, 2014. External links: the dictionary definition of manjaka at Wiktionary, Japan Cartoonists Association, official website.